We're live and all right, you should have control of the meeting.
Thank you very much. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Just want to wait to make sure we have, there he is, Alder Tate is indeed here. And we do, just want to make sure we have a quorum. We do indeed. So good evening, everyone. The hour of 6 o'clock having arrived, I will now call to order the council meeting for the 12th of November, 2020. First item before us, Alder Tate, do you know of any absences we should record for the evening?
Received no notice of absences.
Okay. Then why don't we please begin by everybody rising and facing the east and joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me in that. The first item on the agenda then is the approval of the minutes from the 20th of October, 2020. Could I get a motion to approve said minutes?
To approve.
Motion to approve the minutes is a second from Alder Land. Thank you very much. Any discussion on the minutes from the 20th of October? Seeing no discussion, let me unmute everybody briefly here. Those in favor of the 20th of October 2020 minutes, please say aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, then moving on to the first item of business, and that is committee reports. We will start with the Committee of the Whole, and I will ask Alder Tate to begin with this report. These are all budgetary items, so are not eligible for consent agenda. So we will need to do roll call votes on all the items under the Committee of the Whole heading today. So Alder Tate, I will ask you the first item.
Sure. Item 0714-20, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason submitting the proposed 2021 City of Racine budget consisting of general funds, special revenue funds, debt service fund, capital project funds, enterprise funds, and internal service funds, associated budget ordinances, fee schedules as attached and anticipated to be included in the adoption of this budget. Recommendation is to adopt this item as amended. Move to adopt.
Is there a second? Is a second from Alder Taft. Alder Tate, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes. Since this is the broader piece of our budget and much of what our discussion is, as has been said and often is said at these times, budgets are moral documents and a reflection of our values as a city. I think, with the various challenging decisions that we've had to make, particularly in relation to employee benefits, retirees, and staffing, for various departments, the base value, I believe, of this budget has been to ensure that people who are working for the city continue to work for the city and that no one would lose their job as a result of this particular budget. Particularly in this time, despite the financial challenges, this budget at its core ensures that everyone who wants to continue working for the city will be able to do so and no one will be shown the door forcibly. I think that's really critical at a time where people are experiencing unemployment at record levels, where uncertainty is around every corner. And, it very easily could have been, eliminating potential filled positions occupied by humans at this time to try and balance things out. But I think at the core of this budget, that was a non-starter. And that is what the end result is, despite some of the other shavings that happen around. That not all of which are embraced or celebrated or even welcomed. The core of it is, if you're working for the city, you can continue working for the city and no one loses their job that wants to continue working for the city. And I think that's really important as a part of this budget as it's presented. Additionally, I think it's important that we're really upfront with our constituents in terms of what does this actually mean. You know, while no one's losing their jobs, we are losing positions by attrition as they retire. And the reality is that is going to some degree affect the services that are experienced by citizens. And I think it's important that we are kind of upfront with that, you know, as newer people come in or experienced people go, that is going to shift, you know, who's really good at hitting the curb when it comes to snow plowing, or who's really good at getting through their garbage pickup routes, or who's really good and skilled at doing these certain things that will take time as newer people come in and other people retire. That's going to be an adjustment that people are going to experience on the streets and in our communities. And it's important that we as a council are kind of upfront with that reality as people exit, whether it's reflective of their dissatisfaction with this budget or, you know, needing to do something else in their lives. That is going to change the dynamics in certain departments. Additionally, you know, we expect to see some improvements of service based on some restructuring as it relates to in the clerk's office, so that there's better service, one-stop shopping. So there's a lot of balance that happened in this budget. There's a lot of, you know, changes that are occurring that are less about the immediate future and more about the long-term health, fiscal health of the city. And it's all of these things that are balanced, trying to balance with at the core, if you work for the city, you can continue to work for the city and no one's position is being directly eliminated that currently holds a position. So the challenges that came with this, you know, I appreciate council members as we proposed amendments and kind of hashed through the items that were proposed, as well as all the feedback that was provided prior to the actual presentation of this budget. But certainly, you know, when it comes down to it, that base of making sure that we're prioritizing services for the citizens and employment for people who currently occupy positions in the city, I think was a really critical aspect of this particular budget. And it's going to take continued challenging decisions going forward and exploring, you know, creative options to try and fill those gaps as they exist, because we are dealing with a structural deficit. But I did want to speak, obviously, I'm speaking in favor and support of the budget as it's presented, not because everything in there is as we desire, but because it is ultimately the, I think, best potential outcome that we could come with, considering the circumstances that we are facing, both in the immediate and the long-term future, whether it's the fiscal health or just the, you know, general health of the city of Racine, particularly the public health, even at this time. So, again, I want to commend all of my common council colleagues for your contributions in the development of this budget, and you know, thank, you know, all the folks from the community as well as city staff who kind of shared their concerns and how we were able to or capable to respond to those concerns as they were addressed. And I hope that as we go forward, we continue to kind of be as upfront, as well in advance, engaging various departments as well as our citizens in terms of what their priorities are and how that ultimately is going to affect what we are able to produce as a fiscal budget for the city of Racine. So thank you.
Thank you, Alder Tate. Just as a reminder, if people would like to speak on this or any other item, please virtually raise your hand. If for some reason you're having a problem with that, feel free to wave at the screen. But generally speaking, please virtually raise your hand if you would like to speak. And then remember to put your hand down virtually once you are done speaking. The next person I have in the queue to speak is Alder Perez. Alder Perez.
Thank you, Your Honor. I totally endorse the comments made by Alder Tate and understand that fully. At this point, I've reviewed the budget and seen its necessity. I don't agree, like he said, with some of the cuts that we've had to make. As a result of that, I'd like to offer an amendment at this point. I know it may seem frivolous and late, but I did talk to the finance director and she said that this would be the time to do it. And as Alder President Tate said, you know, this is a reflection of our community, a reflection of what we believe, our values. And so at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we amend the budget and take $65,000 from the contingency fund and give it to the zoo. I'd like to make that a motion. You're muted.
Thank you, Alder Perez. There's an amendment before us that would amend the budget as it's presented here today to restore the cut to the zoo, taking resources from contingency fund reserves to do that. Is there a second on that motion? On the motion. It appears that Alder Levy is making a second on that motion. Alder Levy, are you seconding the motion?
Yes.
Okay, Alder Perez, would you like to speak to your amendment?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I'd like to point out that we have one of the highest rated zoos in the Midwest for its size and for our city. It is autism certified, which is the only one in our area. It's an award-winning zoo. We own the property and the buildings. And one of the things that I think we're failing to take into consideration as we do this is that we also have to take care of the animals. The zoo has been engaged in fundraising almost daily. I see an ad somewhere for some kind of fundraiser for the zoo. But taking $65,000 away means that the animals may not be fed. We may have to send them to other zoos, reduce the size of our zoo, which is already small. But again, as President Tate said, it's a value of our community. It's downtown, it's award-winning. It brings people downtown to the downtown area. It's something that is a bright star within our community. Unfortunately, we have gotten a lot of negative press lately with some of the critical incidents that have happened in town. And this is kind of the bright spot. And everyone is welcome at the zoo, even people with disabilities. They have made arrangements for that. And as we bolster our community and as we bolster who we are as a people, I think we need to value what is a bright option within our community, and that's the zoo. Taking away $65,000 means the animals won't be fed. That concerns me. I understand that they do a lot of fundraising, and I understand we own the property and the buildings, but the message I'm hearing, and I know it may sound negative, is that, hey, we can do without the animals. We own the property, it's very valuable. Maybe we can do some building there. But I don't want to hear that. I want to hear that, hey, this is a value. This is something we in our community value. And there is space in our contingency fund to do this. And that's why I'm proposing that it doesn't come from any other area, but from there. And I'm proposing that the $65,000 come from that to take care of the animals. We talk about taking care of people. I know that's very important. But again, this is something that will bolster our community. This is something that has bolstered our community. And it's award-winning, and it's one of our bright stars downtown. And I think we as a community, as a government, need to totally endorse it. Thank you.
So just as a reminder on the budget, we did have a 10% reduction in the nonprofits that we support. However, we did increase the capital budget by $50,000 to the zoo. So if we were to pass this, would mean a net $50,000 increase to the zoo over last year between the capital and the operations. Alder Mi'kmaq.
Can you come back to me, Mr. Mayor?
Sure can. Alder Taft.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Given that clarification, I don't think it's appropriate to provide an additional $50,000 to the zoo, and that's what this amendment would do. I also wanted to know how much is in the contingency fund, and to reiterate sort of what the contingency fund is for. So if we were to take $65,000 out of the contingency fund, how much would be left? How much have we used? I don't think it's appropriate to use the contingency fund as a piggy bank, and I certainly don't think it's appropriate to use it to increase what the zoo's funding is, $50,000. I'm a big supporter of the zoo, but I don't think it's appropriate at this time given our budget situation.
Alder Taft, if it's all right, I'm going to direct your question to interim city administrator Kathleen Fisher to answer your question. Kathleen, can you hear us? Are you able to speak?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you for the question, Alder Taft. So budgeted for the 2021 budget in the contingency fund is $200,000. In general, the contingency fund is budgeted there for emergency situations. So for example, in 2020 already, we have used the contingency fund a couple of times, for example, for tree damage. So when we had those big storms earlier in the year, we used the contingency fund to pay for removal of trees across the road and in some cases at private residences. Had we had more storm damage the other night from the storm, that is what contingency is intended to be used for. But we are budgeting $200,000 for 2021 as emergencies do happen. If we've seen anything this year, we've seen a whole bunch of emergencies.
Alder
Thank you.
Taft, does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. Alder Taft, did you have more you wanted to say, or did that conclude your remarks?
No, I think at this point, the reason we have the amendments when we do is to give an appropriate amount of time and to figure out the background and in these types of things. And so at this time, I don't support this amendment.
Alder Levy, did you want to speak to the amendment?
I think Alder Perez, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. I think Alder Perez expressed it very well. I didn't know that Alder Perez would be putting that motion forward, so I appreciate him doing that. I do remember that, Mr. Chair, that you did say that the zoo would be getting $50,000 for the building maintenance. So that, great. The zoo buildings do need a lot of maintenance and to maintain and a lot of upkeep. So I appreciate that is still going to be in place. But as Alder Perez said, the zoo has been doing a ton of fundraising. Almost every week they have some event or multiple events, as many of us have seen in the paper. So they're working extremely hard to maintain the quality of the zoo and to ensure that all the animals are well cared for. So it is a very challenging time for the zoo. There is no doubt about it. So thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Alder Levy. Alder Meekma.
Thank you, Your Honor. The chaos, I think, is dying down behind me a little bit. I'll do my best amongst it. So I just start off by saying that Alderman Perez, I love you, man. Your heart is huge, and I appreciate your passion for all things that make this community what it is. I, however, cannot support this amendment, and I'm going to just put out a couple of reasons why. First thing is, last time we were discussing, get my thoughts together. Last time we were discussing the budget, we had the same type of conversation about another nonprofit organization. I made my case then about the importance of not favoring a single nonprofit over all other nonprofits. I understand the zoo is a very important piece of our community. I hate the fact right now that I feel like I'm being pitted against the zoo. I love Beth. I love everything that she's doing for our zoo, for our community, to try and make everything a better place. They're doing incredible things over there every single day. And it kills me to have to now speak against giving them more money, because my heart's as big as Alderman Perez's. I want to give everybody more money. The reality is we're not in a position to be able to do that right now. And again, we can talk about the great work that the zoo does and how it's nice to support an amenity for people to feel good about themselves. But there are hundreds of nonprofits in our community that are doing work every single day to try to make people feel better, whether it's through mental health, whether it's through substance abuse related services, whether it's through homelessness, whether the list can go on and on. If we want to talk about their connection to the city of Racine and how they do good work in conjunction with the police department, in conjunction with the city, the city work that's done on a daily basis. I could go on and on and on, and I would put all of you to sleep by the time I finished. But the point is, well, I would love to give $65,000 to the zoo because I think they would do so much incredible work with it. I can't support just giving $65,000 to the zoo. Alderwoman Jones last time said, well, if we're going to cut one, then are we going to cut the zoo? I mean, ultimately down the road, those are probably conversations we're going to have. I'm not saying I'm supporting doing that, but I can't at this point support giving more money to one entity when we're also talking about removing benefits from city employees. When we're also talking about potentially having a decline in service to city residents. When we're also talking about local small businesses struggling. When we're also talking about an economy that's going to go any way but predictable. So I think it's really great, and it's a feel-good thing to say, let's give $65,000 to the zoo because it's going to make our community feel better. But our community needs a lot of things to go their way to feel a whole lot better right now. And just randomly pulling the zoo out of a hat at this point in the budget process just doesn't make a lot of sense. And, you know, I appreciate your heart, Alderman Perez. I know that you mean so well. And I love that, you know, you're trying even at the very last minute to find a way to bring a bright spot amongst a lot of darkness. This just doesn't feel like the right way to do it. And I'm sorry I can't support it. And believe me, my heart wants to so desperately, but that's where I'm at right now. Thank you.
Alder Coe.
Yeah, I'm going to be speaking against this amendment. Last year we did this, and I was upset, outraged about it when we took the money out of the contingency fund. This year, I talked to Beth after we found out that this was going to happen, and although she wasn't happy about it, and I'm not happy about it either, she said they'd be able to be okay. We are giving more money to the zoo. We own that piece of property, so we're always putting money into the zoo. But we can't keep taking money out of the contingency with the unknowns facing us ahead of time. And while I would love to do this at this time, I just don't think it's fiscally responsible for us to do this. So I'll be voting no.
Thank you, Alder Coe. Alder Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a couple points to highlight. I think last week when we were kind of talking about particular amendments, one of the things that I had emphasized was, contributing to these various entities through the tax levy. I think it's really critical as we, continue to support various entities that there are streams of funding that are available, whether that's CDBG and capital. Because when it comes down to it, our operational budget really has to get down the brass tacks of the most basics, public health, public safety, police and fire, public works, parks and recreation, which are also an aspect of public safety. And I just want us to generally shift our focus around how are we supporting and funding the various entities that do provide such great service to the city in the most fiscally stable and sustainable and responsible way. I believe by supporting the zoo through capital funds so that they can, maintain buildings, make sure there's good spaces for animals. Even I would wonder and argue that, could the food purchased for animals or even the purchasing of animals for the zoo be ultimately considered a capital expenditure as well, as opposed to operational? There's a conversation there, perhaps a debate, perhaps some numerical decisions to be made, but I think we need to be considering the streams of revenue that we support various entities that are critical to the city. And I think, $50,000 towards capital on the capital budget for building maintenance, I think is a healthy and appropriate contribution to the zoo this year. The other piece that I wanted to touch on as it relates to, this particular amendment is, I'm losing my thought, lost my train of thought. So maybe I don't have another thought on that one. But I do think we just really want to reorient ourselves in terms of how are we supporting the various nonprofits. We do have CDBG funds to support, particularly for community amenities. We do have capital funds to support, physical long-term projects as it relates to the zoo. And just when we think about the base responsibilities of the city, the things that our constituents are most likely going to experience a change in if we're not funding them well. It's hard to balance, if we're talking about roads not being plowed as swiftly or quickly, and the zoo, nothing against the zoo, but our constituents have really clear expectations in terms of what they expect the city to be doing. I think it's really critical that we fund that. Oh, that was the other piece I want to touch on. Coming from the contingency fund, I think Alder Mika already touched on it, but just yesterday, as Ms. Fisher mentioned, if that storm had been worse, that's the resource that we have, and bringing it down to $140,000, $135,000, at the beginning of the year, not knowing what the future is going to hold, I think just puts us in a very precarious position to deal with a number of things, particularly as we see storms happening, more with stronger storms, more damaging storms, higher waves on the lake shore, just the environmental changes that we're seeing around us and the impacts that it's having, whether it's on our water system, whether it's on our shoreline, whether it's on our streets. I think it's for us to be as wise as possible. It's to have those funds available to deal with the unknowns that are coming in the next year. And that may very well be, not even related to necessarily infrastructure, but other emergencies that come up. Because again, we're still dealing with this pandemic. We don't know what the federal or state government is going to do in terms of relief funds to manage these things, or to manage this going forward, or how quickly we'll be able to get on kind of round the corner, if you would, in terms of when this is actually going to end and what kind of resources we're going to need to weather it. So I think pulling away from that particular resource for the zoo, or any nonprofit for that matter, is perhaps not the most prudent decision we can make at this time. I think we've allocated a healthy amount of capital funds this year to the zoo, and reserving a healthy amount, which is lower than usual, I think, of reserve funds is probably the smartest and safest thing we can do, going to a very unknown, and as Alder Mika said, unpredictable 2021. I think we want to have everything that we can have as a resource to respond to challenges that may come in the next 12 months. So, as much as I'd like to support, the zoo and every other nonprofit that exists in the city, I think using tax levy as well as pulling from the contingencies is not the most prudent decision at this time.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Taft.
Oh, no, I'm good. Sorry.
Anybody else wishing to speak to Alder Perez's amendment? Seeing none, the first person who will vote in tonight's meeting is actually Alder Tate. So the clerk is about to call the roll. When she calls your name, please vote as you wish. Just as a reminder, this is an amendment to take $65,000 out of contingency and put it into the operations line of the zoo budget. Tara, are you there?
I'm here.
Just want to make sure you're unmuted. If you want to begin calling the roll.
Alder, take a second.
No.
Alder Taft.
No.
Alder Mikma.
No.
Alder Poe.
No.
Alder Santiago.
No.
Alder Perez.
Yes.
Alder Peterson.
No.
Alder Levy.
Aye.
Alder West.
No.
Alder Lamb.
No.
Alder Horton.
No.
Alder Lemke. Sorry, one more time, Alder Lemke.
No.
And Alder Young.
No. Coolidge, you still there? I muted you. Sorry, Tara.
That's okay. That's 11 no's and 2 ayes.
Thank you very much. Alder Tate II.
Thank you. I just wanted to update for the record. Alder Jones did call. She is did ask to be excused for this evening. So yes, she actually called while we were reviewing the minutes. So I was
Excellent.
like, oh God, I got it. But yeah, she did check in and she is excused. So.
Well, our minutes will be amended without objection to reflect that excused absence from Alder Jones. We will now move on to the next item under Committee of the Whole. Alder Tate, could you read the next item, please?
Well,
oh, wait, I'm sorry. You know what? We just did the amendment. We didn't vote on the item itself. Is there any discussion on item 0714-20 before we go to a vote? Alder Horton.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. I just want to say, before we go forward, just listening to President Tate, and this was a, this was a tight budget as it was last year, and I'm really not sold on the budget, but at this point, also my back is against the wall. I've had plenty of people call, and one of the things they asked me is like, what is going to be taken next? And every year something is being taken away from us, or we're giving but we're not receiving. And so, and I understand exactly what Alder Tate was saying. It's because we have to make the hard decision of keeping people employed. And I was more in favor of keeping people employed. I was more in favor of not closing, parks and community centers and all the other good stuff. And so this is a decision that, I just hope that we get to the point of, and I know it's hard. I know it's been hard for all 15 of us to look at this and see that it's kind of grim. I think the other part of it is that being in this COVID era, a lot of people that called too late. They called when we had talked about it. They called when there were amendments. And also they expressed their concern, after the fact that we only had about 5 to 7 statements from, people in the community. And I wish, and I know we all do, wish that it was back normal, because we probably would have had, City Hall would have been filled with people to come and have their 3 minutes to express about the budget. So, it was a tough decision for me. It's something that I will support, but I just wish that we could have helped some other, departments. Alder Peterson talked about the fire department. Then there was the police department. There was the library, and there was those hard decisions that everybody had to come up with a 5% to 10% cut. And so I will support this tonight. I just wish it was better days, for everybody. And I know it was a hard decision for the administration to pull this together. And as we sat there and watched them go through it, just looking for other places that we could take from to support this. So with that, I just want to, look forward to something different than this next year. And I know we've already heard that it might not be, but just more innovative ways to give instead of take back from some of the departments that we had no choice this year to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Horton. Alder Peterson.
Yes, I'll be voting against the budget. I guess because, as Alderman Tate says, it's the moral document. And to me, I find it morally unacceptable that you promise somebody a sick time payout and they accumulate it over years and years, and then you take it away from them. To me, that's morally unacceptable. I don't believe that that's something that has to be done. You could just lock them in at the rate they're at, and we phase it out slowly. It just blows my mind. You do that, you do the 85%, you get rid of the health insurance. It's like ripping off three Band-Aids at once. The morale is going to be crud. Snow plowing is going to be crud. I guess that'll be 1 year problem. Next year it probably won't be as bad, but as Alderman Tate said, it's a moral document, and to me it's morally unacceptable that we take these promised benefits away from individuals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alder Peterson. All for us.
Thank you, Your Honor. I also believe that the budget is a statement of our ideals and morals, and I'm very upset that this budget represents what I believe a hazardous and dangerous situation to our community with the changing of the staffing of the fire department and the police department, and what we've done to Crime Watch as well, which is totally works together, and looking at the cop houses and how they contribute. And we continue to say, hey, this is a bad area for African Americans, but when it comes to the things about obeying the law, we also are backing off, and we're not protecting our community if we continue to not have the staffing that we've had in the past, because the crimes have gone down, but recently there's quite the uptick. And so I believe that at this point, it is morally reprehensible that we would approve a budget the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Perez. Any further discussion on the budget? Alder Tate.
I certainly understand the perspective of Alders Perez and Peterson. I think also it's going to be incumbent upon us to broaden the rhetoric around issues of public safety, because I think it's abundantly clear, or at least it should be, that public safety isn't just restricted to the number of police on the street. It's directly tied to whether there are services and opportunities for employment, whether there's healthy activities for youth, so that's our community centers, whether our streets are actually safe to drive upon, or our sidewalks are safe to walk upon, so that's public works. So I really want us to broaden our understanding of what public safety is, to not just pigeonhole it into people with badges and guns responding to calls, but it's much more. And I believe our dollar can go a lot further in maintaining a low level of crime and further reducing it if we orient ourselves towards more prevention as opposed to response. And that prevention does mean investing more in the things that ultimately do reduce crime. That's good jobs. That's good schools. Not our problem necessarily. We don't have anything to do with schools, but that is a factor in a safe and healthy community. The communities that are the safest, and this has been said time and time again, are not the ones with the most police. And this is nothing against our police department. I think RPD does a commendable job, especially compared to some surrounding communities in terms of their efforts to bridge gaps, to respond well, to make people feel safe even when they protest, and to be present stepping out of their vehicles. That's a huge difference from other communities. But the communities that are safest are not the ones with the most police. They're the ones with the most resources, the ones with the most services, the ones with the most support. If you drive out, let's drive out 50 miles west, probably not a lot of police out there, but definitely a really good school, definitely a really nice park, definitely spaces that people feel safe going and participating in activities. And I really want us to, just as a council, really broaden and be creative in terms of public safety is more than just the response to a crisis. It's how do you prevent a crisis from occurring? And as we deal with these tighter and tighter fiscal constraints, we're going to have to identify, if we can't throw more, people on the street to respond to it, what do we do on the front end to ensure that there's less to respond to in the first place? So I just really want to caution us in terms of, speaking about public safety in a very narrow scope of just, the police or fire response. I think, one thing that's been really clear lately is there's a lot more necessary in terms of fire prevention, because we have 2 instances in the last 2 weeks of people who are on oxygen machines smoking, and then that causes a fire in the building. Like, I don't know what, prevention you can do to help prevent that from occurring, what education, because it seems kind of common sense, like you don't smoke next to a flammable substance, but there it is. And, I know the fire department does an excellent job of trying to get information out there, whether it's, smoke detectors or inspections of buildings to make sure that they're fire safe. So there's a limit to how much prevention can occur, but I think there's a lot more prevention that we're not doing in other areas, that if we can orient ourselves to really wrap our heads around what that prevention is, perhaps we don't need as much response on the front end, which the response invariably is always much more expensive than the prevention activities. So certainly hear and understand the sentiments coming from Alder Peterson and Alder Perez, both as previous public safety operators, one respectively as a police officer, the other as a firefighter. But me being a social worker, I'm also have worked in response to crisis, but also further preventing that crisis by teaching people the skills that are necessary to cope before it becomes a crisis. And I think as a city, we also have to orient ourselves on how do we prevent certain things from happening. And I think as we look at this past summer, it's going to be important to kind of have a post-mortem on the coronavirus era and why things changed the way they did in terms of crime in the streets. If people are home more often than they usually would have been, and there was already a fraught relationship perhaps in a domestic violence situation, odds are we're going to see some more domestic violence because they're there now and they can't necessarily escape that situation. If children are kind of in the streets without supervision, and they otherwise would have been at school maybe for more of that day, or during the summer even had activities at the community centers, but because of coronavirus those aren't available, it shouldn't be necessarily surprising that we're seeing increases of unhealthy behaviors in children in the streets. So I really want us to make sure that the snapshot that we're in right now of coronavirus plus fiscal challenges and economic constraints and stresses all should expectedly result in some problem situations that aren't necessarily related to the amount of police on the streets, but are more reflective of there's a pandemic, there's a lot less activity available for people, the stresses that existed prior to the pandemic are simply amplified because people can't escape them as they previously could. And those are all things that we as leaders should be talking to directly, but also advocating in higher levels of government to respond, because there's only so much reach that we have as a city council. But definitely we should be expecting a lot more from our state and federal legislators in terms of providing resources to municipalities such as ourselves to deal with those challenges that people are facing, specifically related to the emotional and social emotional factors that people are dealing with as a result of the pandemic, not just the hospitalizations and the sickness, but the social challenges that people are experiencing. So I say that to say a bunch of nothing, it seems like sometimes, but I just want as a council for us to really expand our understanding of public safety, to not just pigeonhole it into policing, but understand that it's a lot more factors, and if we can be creative in the prevention, we can maybe stretch our dollar a little bit more than it went this year. Thanks.
Thank you, Alder Tate II. Alder Coe.
Yeah, I'm not happy with a lot of the things that we have had to do this year, but the reality is, well, years ago, we went through a budget crisis. We had to eliminate quite a few jobs. I did not want to do that again. I know the people in the city feel betrayed, but we have to do what's best for the whole city of Racine. I know I've got benefits in the jobs that I've worked at, and over the years, they've been taken away. And I've tried to see how we could keep No, I'm not happy about this, but we have to do this for the longevity of the fiscalness of the city of Racine. And I mean, if we didn't do this, we might have had to lay off a whole lot of people. And I wasn't for that at all. So that's it. Thank you. I'm froze again.
Thank you, Alder Coe. Alder Perez, did you want to speak again, or?
Yes, sir, I do. Thank you. I'd just like to congratulate President Tate. He's become an amazing orator over the years, and that was an excellent presentation. However, I do want to remind you that in our particular law enforcement situation, we're a model department that other departments throughout the state and the country come to for training, because we are innovative and we do reach out into community centers and cop houses, and we do training, and we're connected with Crime Watch, or what we call it here, Neighborhood Watch, and we're connected to community outreach in schools. I myself, a school resource officer. The NAMI training, crisis intervention training by the police department. When you say pigeonhole, I think maybe you don't realize how much our police department does do in reaching out into the different areas. And maybe you do, but you're looking at the broader picture. And I totally understand that. Having been a school resource officer, community service officer myself for many years, I appreciate all the interconnectedness of everything we do in our community. And that's why, we sponsored the money for the simulator so that the officers can be better trained. And I know it's all interconnected, but I really think, having been a law enforcement officer, as you said, President Tate, and administrator, I really think that based on the standards that we have in this community, it's a disservice to our community to lower the numbers, both in fire and police. And the standards that we have, which we've built up, especially through crisis and even in our fire department, reducing our ambulances to 2 instead of 3, our rescue units, we're going backwards. And even though affordability is an issue, we really have to consider, again, as you said, President Tate, at the beginning, the values of our community. And I appreciate what you said, and I totally understand it. And I don't know if you're aware of this, President Tate, but at one point I wanted to be a social worker, but I chose instead to be a police officer, and a pastor. So I thank you for your presentation, and I believe you understand it that way too. And as you know, and as you said, I have a heart for the other part of it because I think it's critical to the success of our community as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Perez. I have 2 other speakers in the queue. I can't tell if your hands are still up from before or if you wanted to speak again. Alder Peterson, did you want to speak again?
Yes, just quick in response to Alderman Coe as far as layoffs, and this he's referring to the benefits. Keeping the payout as such would actually be a cost savings for the first year or 2. I understand there'll be cost incurred going on, but for the 2021 budget and probably 2022 budget, it'll be a cost savings in that you're not going to have an exodus and a giant payout, and you won't be paying the retirees insurance and the new hires insurance. So it'll be a cost savings in the short, Mr. Coe. And I understand times are tight, but I'm not sure if every alderman is also aware of the fact that we somehow managed to put $3 million in our insurance reserve fund. So we went from 2 million to 5 million. So, which is all fine and good, but that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Peterson. I see no further hands raised to discuss the item before us. So having exhausted the debate on this issue, I just want to make sure that the clerk is unmuted. When the clerk will call the roll, please vote as you wish. Again, we're voting on item 0714-20, communication sponsored by myself, submitting the proposed 2021 City of Racine budget consisting of the general fund, special revenue funds, debt service funds, capital project funds, enterprise funds, and internal service funds, associated budget, ordinances, and fee schedules as attached, anticipated to be included in adoption of this item. Clerk will open the roll. When she calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Tate.
Aye.
Alder Taft.
Aye.
Alder Meekma.
Aye.
Alder Coe.
Aye.
Alder Santiago.
Aye.
Alder Perez.
No.
Alder Peterson.
No.
Alder Levy.
Aye.
Alder West.
Aye.
Alder Land.
Aye.
Alder Horton.
Aye.
Alder Lemke.
Aye.
Alder Young.
Aye.
That is 11 ayes and 2 noes.
Thank you, everyone. Before we move on to the next item, I want to do something a little bit atypical and just comment on the budget that we've all gone through and just say a couple things that I think are important to note as we finish up the year's annual budget. First of all, I think it's very valuable that we have at least 3 former public servants that are on the council who bring that perspective, one from fire, one from police, and one in social work. We have other public servants who are in public health and in higher education. We're certainly served in public education. We're certainly served by that experience. This was not a fun budget to put together for anyone. We started with a large structural deficit, and between the pandemic and declining revenues, it made it very difficult together. There are things in this budget that if we had the resources, we would have preferred not to do. We are forced, under the rules laid forth by us by the state legislature, and the restrictions we have around growth and being landlocked, we are forced into a structural deficit, which means next year we will have another conversation that is similar to this. So these are very hard decisions. I want to thank the council for being willing to work so hard on this budget and make some hard choices. I know it wasn't easy for anyone. I also just want to make it clear, these shortfalls in fundings are not the fault of our residents. They're not the fault of our employees. It is a very difficult thing to have more costs than we have resources to expend. We've made every effort to try to maintain all of our services and not lay people off in the process of doing this and find savings through attrition. So I want to thank everybody for their hard work on this, on a very difficult budget in a very difficult year in the midst of a pandemic. So thank you, everyone. I want to move on to the next item. Alder Coe, could you please read the next item? Alder Tate II. I apologize.
Item 058-20. Submittal of the report of the Finance Committee of the Racine Wastewater Commission regarding 2021 wastewater utility operations and maintenance budget for the 2021 to 2025 capital improvements budget, recommending adoption. Recommendation is to approve as presented. Move to adopt.
There's a motion to adopt this item. Alder Coe, are you waiving to second it? The second from Alder Coe. Thank you, Alder Coe. Any discussion on this item? Seeing no discussion, when the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Tate,
Aye.
Alder Taft,
Aye.
Alder Mikma, Alder Coe,
Aye.
Alder Santiago,
Aye.
Alder Perez,
Aye.
Alder Peterson,
Aye.
Alder Levy,
Aye.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder Land,
Aye.
Alder Horton,
Aye.
Alder Lemke,
Aye.
and Alder Young.
Aye.
That's 13 yeses, 0 nos.
Excellent. Moving on to the next item. Alder Tate II, could you read the next item?
Certainly. Item 0650-20, submittal of the finance. Yes. Submittal of the report of the Finance Committee of the Racine Wastewater Commission regarding the 2021 to 2025 capital improvements budget. It's almost like that happened twice. Recommending adoption. Move to approve as presented.
Is there a second on this item? See a second from Alder Young. Alder Tate, would you like to speak to the motion? Anyone want to speak on the item? Seeing no discussion, the clerk will call the roll. When she calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Tate,
Aye.
Alder Taft,
Aye.
Alder Mikma,
Aye.
Alder Coe,
Aye.
Alder Santiago,
Aye.
Alder Perez,
Aye.
Alder Peterson,
Aye.
Alder Levy,
Aye.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder Land,
Aye.
Alder Horton,
Aye.
Alder Lemke,
Aye.
Alder Young.
Aye.
That's 13 ayes, 0 nos.
All right. Moving on to the next item, Alder Tate II.
Thank you. This is the last item of the Committee of the Whole and Budget report item 0579-20, submittal of the report of the Committee of the Racine Waterworks Commission regarding the year 2021 water utility operations and maintenance budget and the 2021 to 2025 capital improvements budget, recommending adoption. Recommendation is to adopt as presented. Move to adopt.
Is there a second? A second from Alder Taft. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing no discussion, when the clerk opens the roll, please vote as you wish.
Alder Tate,
Aye.
Alder Taft,
Aye.
Alder Mikma,
Aye.
Alder Coe,
Aye.
Alder Santiago,
Aye.
Alder Perez,
Aye.
Alder Peterson,
Aye.
Alder Levy,
Aye.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder Land,
Aye.
Alder Horton,
Aye.
Alder Lemke,
Aye.
Alder Young.
Aye.
13 ayes, 0 noes.
All right, that motion carries. We will now move on to the Finance and Personnel Report. Alder Taft, do you have any items for separate consideration?
I have one item at this time, item 750-20.
Please proceed with reading the item.
Sure. The item is communication sponsored by the chair requesting permission to apply for FEMA BRIC grant funding for up to $2 million for a resiliency community center and or community safe room. Just to clarify what the community safe room is, that generally refers to like environmental safety, like tornadoes and things. I didn't know that until we started discussing this item. Okay, the recommendation of the Finance and Personnel Committee is that the Director of City Development be authorized to apply for the FEMA BRIC grant for an amount up to $2 million for Resiliency Community Center and Safe Room. Fiscal note, the grant requires a 25% match, which is included in the 2022 capital plan. Recommendation is to adopt, so I would make a motion to approve this item at this time.
Motion to approve. Is there a second on this item? Second from Alder Coe. Any discussion on this item? Alder Peterson.
Yes, Alderman Taft informed me a little bit of what's going on with this. My question would be, and she said that the Mr. Bowers might be able to answer, or somebody might be able to answer as far as the operating costs that may be incurred as a result of this project. Is this just strictly a $500,000 matching, or are there going to be operating costs down the line that are incurred as well?
I will refer your question to Ms. Fisher, if you want to. I don't see Bill. Oh, Bill's here as well. I don't know which. Kathleen, do you want to take a shot at that, or does Bill want to do that?
I can start, and Bill can certainly jump in. In terms of this specific grant, again, this is a planning and construction grant under the BRIC program. So the 25% match would be a hard match for planning and construction costs, and does not in any way require any operational match dollars. So that's what this
As a result of finishing this project, are there going to be costs incurred to the city for operating costs?
So again, I think what Ms. Fisher was just answering. I don't know if you were able to hear that, but
I don't think
Kathleen.
there's an answer. What's
Okay.
the end game? What's being built, and is the city going to have any employees as part of the project at the end game?
Kathleen, can you try to address that?
Sure. So this grant would be a funding source for a larger project. You're absolutely right. So the project is for the construction of a federally qualified health clinic and community center in the Lincoln King area. It was discussed as part of the capital plan, and actually the construction would take place in 2022. Operational costs associated with that project. Obviously there would be operational costs associated with our portion of the community center, but that would be all a public-private partnership between the clinic, community center, possibly Racine Unified. So there's many things that have to be ironed out over the next year and a half, 2 years associated with this. And obviously all of those decisions would come across the Common Council as they came. Any MOUs, any final construction projects. This grant is very, very early in the process, and these largely competitive grants take a very, very long time, to write, and then to actually be awarded. Even upon award, we will have to come back to the Common Council and Finance Committee to approve the award of the grant. So this is just an approval to apply for the grant.
All right, I'm all for the grant, applying for the grant, but prior to voting on it in the future, if we do get the grant, I would request that we have a cost estimate to what the city is going to have to use to operate our end of the community center. And if it's going to be shifted from another community center, or if it's going to be a new cost, being that the situation we're in and we're taking benefits away from everybody, I don't know that we should be inquiring new costs. Thank you.
Thank you. Take the second.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to maybe help Alder Peterson out. This project is intended to replace the currently existing Martin Luther King Center. So any costs that would be associated with the operation there would ultimately shift to this new facility. And I think maybe that's what you're kind of trying to get at, is if we're going to be creating a new center, new staff, all that stuff, we're actually intending to replace an existing center. So the operational costs, presumably, obviously we'll know more once we get closer to it, but would go from what it currently is for MOK and shift to this new community center, which I presume will probably still be called MOK. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Hopefully that kind of answers what you're getting at.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Tate. Alder Perez.
Yeah, I'm confused with the discussion. Are we on 074920 or something else?
No, we are on 0750-20.
Did we skip 49, or are we coming back to it?
Alder Perez, so procedurally, when we go through the committee reports, we begin by asking each chair if there's been requests for separate consideration on any items before the chair reads them sequentially. And so Alder Taft had mentioned that there was a request for separate consideration on this item, and so that's where we began.
How did it end up being discussed as the Lincoln King Center when it was talking about a grant for a resiliency community center?
Because that is what the grant would be applied to.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Your Honor, in that case, I'd like to have special consideration for 074920, please, when it comes up.
Okay, that's not in order at this time, but after we vote on this item, I'll come back to you so you can ask for that separate consideration. Any discussion on the item before us? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry, Perez, do you still have your hand up for something else, or? Okay. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll. She calls your name. Please vote as you wish.
Alder Tate.
Aye.
Alder Taft.
Aye.
Alder Mi'kmaq.
Aye.
Alder Coe.
Aye.
Alder Santiago.
Aye.
Alder Perez.
Aye.
Alder Peterson.
Aye.
Alder Levy.
Aye.
Alder West.
2 ayes.
Alder Land.
Aye.
Alder Horton.
Aye.
Alder Lemke.
Aye.
Alder Young.
Aye.
That's 13 ayes, 0 noes.
Okay, thank you very much. Alder Taft, I think you heard Alder Perez ask for a separate consideration on the first item on your reports. Or no, I'm sorry, the second item on your report. Unless you had other items for separate consideration, could you please read that item?
Sure. Item 749-20, communication sponsored by the chair, requesting permission to enter into a sole source professional services agreement with Smith Group for design and analysis services associated with the development of a master plan for the Lincoln King Clinic and Community Center. Staff recommendation is that the mayor and city clerk be approved or authorized to execute and sign the professional services agreement with the Smith Group. Fiscal note, the total cost of $128,500 is budgeted in the 2021 capital plan under 45050572000. Move to approve.
So motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Seconded by Alder West. Any discussion on the item? Alder Perez.
Thank you, Your Honor. I listened into the Finance Committee discussion the other day about this, and it was real interesting to note that the sole source professional service agreement explanation was, we worked with these people before, they do a good job, and if we don't do this right now, we might not have enough time later to do it. Again, it almost seems like we're violating our own policies again with the alacrity in which we are asked to vote and pass issues. This is one of those things that was not put out for bids. And being that it is such a big plan and cost effective, it almost defeats our own purpose. We talk about inclusiveness, we talk about putting it out to the community, we've talked about even in our own ordinances that say that we want to hire people from our community, we're not giving the opportunity to the people to even bid on the contracts. And this sole source and having to do it right away, or if we wait, a couple of weeks and put it out for bid, then it might be too late in the season to do this. This is, again, another one of those crisis things that come up. Important, I get it. But if it was that important and we're thinking about it, wouldn't we have known about this 2 weeks ago, as opposed to last week when they voted on it? And that keeps coming up all the time, the alacrity in which we have to vote for things that are just presented out there. I heard the argument. They're good at what they do. They're specialists. We've worked with them before. And, we want to do this. But their argument was, hey, we need to do this now, or later it's going to be too late. We even have ordinances in the book that address issues like this. I'm really bothered by the fact that we keep voting on things like this. I understand they may be the best, but we didn't put it out there for anybody else to even consider. And so I have a problem with this. And I would like to hear maybe the response from Dr. Taft.
So before you do that, I'll ask Kathleen Fisher to explain what our policy and ordinance says regarding sole sourcing professional services and what those criteria are. Kathleen, can you walk through those criteria, please?
Sure. I don't have the specific ordinance in front of me, but I do know enough. So again, and I talked about it a little bit at Finance and Personnel, so I'm sure if Alder Perez was on, he heard me say it very similarly. Professional services is one of those areas within the ordinance that you really, it's a difficult situation because there are certain people that, particularly in the professional services area, when they know our community and they have experience in our community and they've done designs within our community before and have done this sort of very specific work. And in this particular example, this is a very specific, relatively unique type of construction with a combination of a clinic and a community center and potentially other aspects to it. So Smith Group is one of those companies, and there is a provision within the ordinance that says for professional services that in this type of instance, we can request a sole source. That is what we are doing here today. So we are allowed in the ordinance to do that.
I'm happy to respond as well if the chair.
Alder Taft, go right ahead.
No, I appreciate the question. I think meeting because I think it's important that folks understand this. I don't think timing is the primary concern in this case. As the city administrator explained, this is a very complex situation with recreation and public health and a number of other things, and there are very few organizations that have the expertise, let alone have a working relationship with the city and understand some of the complexities. There is a time component, so it's an advantage to not have to spend more money getting another company up to speed on a variety of complex issues, but this is a very multifaceted project, and this is exactly sort of the thing that the sole source provision was designed for. I don't think we do the sole sourcing for reasons just of timing. I think this is an appropriate use of the sole source provision in the ordinance. So I just, I appreciate the concerns because I think it does merit, questioning, and I'm glad you brought up the question, but I think the administrator explained it pretty well why it's reasonable in this situation.
Alder Tate the second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to kind of acknowledge Alder Perez's concerns because those were the ones that I brought up in committee as well in terms of what was the justification for sole source in this particular instance. I believe Alder Young in the committee as well also asked it for it to be referenced, where in our ordinance does it allow us to specifically, sole source this type of project. So I think the concerns that Alder Perez brought up are completely valid. We also kind of hashed them out in committee as well. So those questions were asked and answered, I believe, satisfactorily to the point that we were okay with moving it forward to the council. To echo Alder Taft's concern, or at least a response, and it wasn't quite fleshed out as it was in committee, but I think one of the things that was highlighted in terms of why this particular entity would be appropriate for sole sourcing is that they actually have experience in designing, multi-purpose units with health and community center aspects to it. And that layered on top of their familiarity with the community does kind of align them with our ordinance in terms of how you would justify a sole source. I probably personally would have liked to seen this put out for bid as well. But I think the justification is there and aligns with our ordinance to sole source it. And that was my initial concern as to why we weren't putting this out for bid. It was explained that the time for application of the grant is a factor in having kind of this design and kind of having those streamlined together. So I certainly don't want to miss out on $2 million towards this very beneficial project for a distressed corridor in our city. But I would like to see and echo Alder Perez's concerns of, if we can avoid sole sourcing and make sure that those opportunities for bids are open when the time and allows for, especially when the time allows for it. Just to give others a chance, because we may have put this out for bid and they still would have come back as the lowest responsible bidder because they have the alignment of resources and the experience that they can save money that others would not. But I think in general practice we should probably, and I think in general we do. We do a lot of bids per year. Very few come back as sole sourced. So I think this is a rare occurrence, but they always they do tend to catch our attention because we're not used to seeing sole sources because most are put out for bids, particularly if you're on a public works committee. Like this is like, oh, well, that's different. But definitely echoing like Alder Perez's concerns are not, unique to him. I think we all spoke to it to a degree in committee, and I think it's helpful to kind of have this on the open floor, explain like, well, what was discussed in committee, and for anybody who's watching, like, yeah, why are they doing that? Well, here's the explanation of how do we get to this point, and what are our general intentions around bids and the like. So I just want to echo those concerns, but certainly in support of this at this time. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, you are muted.
Thank you, Alder Tate. I was like, why isn't Alder West answering me? It's because I was muted. Alder West, you had your hand up. Did you want to speak to the item?
Oh, yes, I do. I just want to say I am definitely in favor of this. I understand Mr. Perez's concerns with this, but I think this is really important for the 8th district, and this is time sensitive. So I think we should take a look at that and move forward with this. So I am definitely in support of this, and I hope that everyone else join in. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder West, very much. Any other discussion on this item? Alder Perez.
Thank you, Your Honor. I love the idea. I'm not against the idea at all. I'm against the idea of how we came about to make this a sole source agreement. We've done this several times in the past. It brings suspicion to our community that says, wait a minute, we wanted to do this a long time ago and we only found out about it last week that we have to vote it now because we don't, it would be too late to get our grant by the end of the time that it would be time to build this thing. We're not fostering a good relationship with our community by doing this. We're not fostering trust. We're fostering distrust. And how hard can it be when, if they're that great, they're going to come in, we have to consider all factors, and the other people, if they can't handle it, then we reject them and approve this. But when we don't do that and we don't give the community the opportunity to respond to public bidding, then we are placing ourselves in quite the position of distrust. I'm all for this agreement in the sense that I want to see this Lincoln King Clinic and Community Center. It's a need in our community. I get that part. I'm just upset that we've done this again, that we've had to vote on something that, oh, if we don't vote on it now, we're not going to be able to get the grant and get it in enough time to start this project. President Tate said, you know, it doesn't happen often. It's happened more often than we'd like it to. And that's the problem. When the community sees this, they go, again, another emergency thing that we got to spend money on and do we really need it? And if we would have done it ahead of time without the urgency and put it out for bid, nobody would have had a problem with it. They would have said, oh yeah, we need it. You know, it's Lincoln King community. Yeah, absolutely. And so my point is, we have to do better at this stuff. We have to be more transparent. That we promised to do that at the beginning of the year. We promised to do that to serve our community well. We have to follow our own rules. And yes, sir, I get it. There's an exception for sole service agreements where they're truly competent and capable. But yeah, let's put it out there, and then we can just reject everybody that's not competent and capable and say, yeah, no, we put it out there. We're transparent. This doesn't show transparency, and that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the item? Seeing no further discussion, I'm going to meet the clerk. Oh, sorry, Alder Taft.
Thank you. I would disagree that this isn't transparent. I mean, we've been very transparent about the need for this. This is an absolutely appropriate use of sole sourcing. And in addition, you know, the grants are not, sometimes these grants are new. Sometimes these grants come along. We don't know the grants are going to come. We have excellent staff that monitor for these grants all the time. And while, like we mentioned, the urgency for the grant proposal is not the only reason for the sole sourcing, we don't always have control. Like, we don't always know that a grant is going to be available when we visualize a project. And this is our staff trying to capitalize on a really amazing opportunity that we have. We may not get the grant, but we should be in there. And so this is transparent. This is appropriate. And we, as a finance and personnel committee, we did appropriate vetting for this as well. So I think that people who are concerned can absolutely trust that we are asking the questions and following procedure and keeping their best interest at the top of what we do. Thanks.
Thank you. Alder Young.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't mean to belabor the point because I know we've been having this conversation for a while, but I want to mention a point that my friend from the 12th District, Alder Perez, had mentioned, which is the trust of the community. The trust of the community has been put in us as representatives of our respective districts to do what's in the best interest of the city of Racine. This went through the committee process in which we were able to vet the proposal and then send it to council. We have a job to make sure we improve the quality of life for our residents in the city of Racine. We have an opportunity to bring in millions of dollars to a federally qualified health clinic. And it would be silly if we denied something if it met all of the expectations of the sole source process, and it will have dramatically positive impacts on health outcomes in our community. We can point to disparities in health outcomes in this community because of the lack of health care in certain neighborhoods. And there is an attempt to make sure that some of the largest neighborhoods that have need in our community are provided a service. And it would be silly if we did not do everything in our power to meet the public trust and provide a quality service that's needed. So I appreciate the effort to have a conversation about a need to have these conversations in the public. We did, we had it in committee. And I don't like to see sole sourcing be a common discussion and common on the agenda, and it's not, quite frankly. And so I'm glad we're moving forward with this, and I hope everybody votes yes.
Thank you, Alder Young. Alder Perez.
Thank you, Your Honor. I agree with Alder Young. I'm all for this project. I just am concerned that the image we keep portraying to the community is one of not trust, as Trevor said, but mistrust because of the process. I don't disagree with anything he said about the need, the ability to jump on this. I'm for this project. I'm just saying that it doesn't appear that we are open again. And it's happened more often than my fellow alders are admitting, because I've pointed it out several times. And that's just my concern. I think this is a totally worthwhile project and we should jump on it as best we can. I'm not complaining about this. I'm complaining about the process. And I think we need to take the process into consideration much stronger in the future, so that it doesn't appear
sort of a flatter organization.
So it doesn't appear that we are not following our own rules, and it doesn't appear that we're trying to somehow mislead the community and stuff like this that happens from one day to the next. It has to be done right away because otherwise we'll lose the grant. That's what that does to our community. And that's that. I'm voting for this. I think it's a great idea, but I'm just saying the process sucks.
Okay, Alder Perez, I'm going to ask the city attorney just to comment on the process, because I want to make it clear to people, because I think your comments are intimating in some way that the Finance and Personnel Committee did not follow an appropriate process under our statutes. So I just want to ask the city attorney to clarify if the proposal before us meets the requirements of statutes.
Yeah.
Attorney Letney, could you comment on sole source ordinance and whether or not we followed what's required under the ordinance?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The ordinance on sole source deals with procurement of professional services specifically, and with regard to, well, so generally speaking, there is a desire to seek proposals or bids depending upon the kind of contract, but there are circumstances in which there are exceptions to the selection process. So the city can enter into contracts for professional services without a competitive selection process when there's a series of things that are met. First of all, it could be any of these, one or more. Public exigency won't permit the delay. The service required is available from only one firm or person. There is an exception for attorneys who charge on an hourly basis or are approved by our liability insurers. There have been no acceptable bids after advertising. The fees are established by law or professional code. A particular consultant has provided services to the city on a similar or continuing project in the past, and it would be economical to the city on the basis of time and money to retain the same consultant, or the contract is for 20,000 or 25,000 or less, or there's a sort of catch-all otherwise authorized by law, rule, or resolution. In the case of sole source, public exigency, or previous provider exemption, there's a requirement that the department head or purchasing agent file the form explaining it with the finance director and the city administrator. And then if the aggregate for the fees is going to exceed $25,000, and it doesn't meet one of the requirements, then it has to be approved by the Common Council by resolution. So that's why the process is going on like this right now.
Thank you, Attorney Latney. Alder Taft, do you still have your hand up? Did you want to speak again?
I was going to say, I was just going to reiterate that this is, absolutely an appropriate and transparent process.
I see Maddie and Monique's hands up.
And
my Wi-Fi goes.
I was going to I was going to just call the question after that. That's
okay. Just let me mute the city attorney real quick. I think he's doing two things at once. City staff multitasking. So the question has been called. I want to make sure the clerk is available.
Second.
Tara, can you hear?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes. Alder Tate has seconded calling the question. I'm going to unmute everybody real quick. All those in favor of calling the question, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, say no.
No, I was in the queue
Okay.
already before she called the
That motion carries. The question has been called. The clerk will now call the roll. When she calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Tate,
Aye.
Alder Taft, Alder Taft,
Aye.
Alder Mikma,
Aye.
Alder Coe,
Aye.
Alder Santiago,
Aye.
Alder Perez,
Aye.
Alder Peterson,
Aye.
Alder Levy,
Aye.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder Land,
Aye.
Alder Horton,
All right.
Alder Mikma, Alder Lemke,
Aye.
Alder Young.
Aye.
That's 13 ayes, 0 no.
Thank you very much, Clerk Coolidge. Alder Taft, did you have any other items on your report for separate consideration?
Not that I'm aware of.
Then please proceed with the remainder of your report.
Okay. Back to the first item on the agenda, 730-20, communication sponsored by Alder Santiago Jr. for the review and approval of the Douglas Avenue Business Improvement District bid number 4, 2021 operating plan. Recommendation of the Finance and Personnel Committee is that the proposed operating plan for the Douglas bid be approved and that the finance director be directed to include the district's special charges on the 2020 property tax bills of the affected parcels. Fiscal note, it is estimated that $41,400 will be raised through bid assessments to be dispersed to the Douglas Avenue bid number 4. Move to approve.
You don't need to make a motion as we're going through
sorry.
consent agenda items.
Right, sorry. I was in a zone. Okay. All right. So next item is 754-20, communication sponsored by Alder Coe, requesting authorization for the city of Racine to receive 1030 12th Street from Racine County and transfer the property from the city of Racine to Racine Habitat for Humanity for the purpose of redevelopment. Recommendation is to approve. Next item, fiscal note. Habitat will reimburse the city for title transfer, recording, or any other applicable fees estimated at approximately $30. Next item is Item 767-20, communication sponsored by the chair, presenting the financing plan for the refunding of the 2020 capital project note anticipation note and resolution authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $14 million in general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2020B. Recommendation is that this note anticipation note issued October 6, 2020 be refinanced as presented. Fiscal note, no new money will be included in the issue. Payment to run through 2034. That concludes the Finance and Personnel report.
Without objection, these items will be placed on the consent agenda. We'll now move on to Public Works and Services. Alder Jones is not here this evening. Alder Land, if you don't mind, I will ask you to do the Public Works report.
Sure.
Okay, excellent. Do you have any items that you know of for separate consideration?
I do not.
Okay.
Point of order, I'm sorry.
Oh, yep. Go ahead, Alder Tate.
Isn't Alder Levy the Vice Chair of Public Works?
Oh, is she? I apologize. Did I get that wrong?
No, she's not.
No? Okay, my bad. Sorry,
Okay.
Alderland.
Yes, you are.
Alderman, please proceed.
Item 0751-20, communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of the Commissioner of Public Works, City Engineer, submitting an updated right-of-way plat for State Project 270300002, replacing the West 6th Street Bridge previously approved by the Public Works and Common Council. Recommendation is to approve the clerical name changes. Item 0755-20, communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of the Department of Public Works, submitting change order number 1 on contract 2020053 roof replacement. Bus garage be approved in the amount of $520.50, and that the change order be approved in the corrected amount of $520. Staff recommendation that it be approved and funds are available as herein delineated. Item 0756-20, communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of interim city engineer, submitting change order number 2 on contract 2090027 concrete reconstruct. Staff recommendation that the change order be approved in the amount of $33,396.45. Fiscal notes, funds are available as delineated. Item 0757-20, communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of interim city engineer, submitting change order number 1 on contract 201-90015, 2019 city resurfacing phase, A.W. Oaks and Sons contractor. Staff recommendation that it be approved in the amount of $3,776.63. Funds are available as herein delineated. Item 0758-20, communication from Alder Jones on behalf of the interim city engineer, requesting authorization to enter into an agreement with Cobalt Construction Incorporated, an Illinois corporation, for the use of the alleyway sidewalk connecting 2700 block of Northwestern Avenue and the 1800 block of Neptune Avenue for the purpose of the delivery of construction materials to construct a privately owned retaining wall for the property located at 2710 Northwestern Avenue at the back property line. Staff recommendation that permission be granted, and they must a plan for restoration as well as execute a hold harmless agreement and liability insurance to perform the work. Cobalt Construction will also pay $75 processing fee, and they shall restore the property to the condition to or greater than the existing time as determined by the city engineer. Item 075-20, communication from Alder Jones on behalf of the interim city engineer, submitting bid results on contract 202-00076, 2020 State Street Lift Bridge balancing. That the bid for contract be awarded to Drax Incorporated as its bid price of $168,000, it being the lowest responsible bidder. Further recommends that funds to defray the cost will be appropriated from Org Object 6038357-200. Funds are available as herein delineated. Item 0760-20, communication sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of the Department of Public Works to submit final payments on contract 2020053 roof replacement, bus garage, concrete reconstruct and city resurfacing phase 1. Recommends that the work provided by Carlson Roofing be accepted and final payment authorized for the total contract amount of $84,960. Further recommends that it be accepted and final payment authorized for the total contract amount of $1,475,013.45. Further recommends that the work be provided by A.W. Oaks and Sons be accepted and final payment authorized for a total contract amount of $1,582,490.13. Funds are available as here delineated. That's the end of the report.
Alder Lamb, thank you very much. Without objection, these items will be placed on the consent agenda. We will then now move on to Planning, Heritage, and Design Commission. Alder Young, did you have any items for separate consideration?
Not as I know of, Mr. Mayor.
Please proceed with the report.
Thank you. Item 0715-20, request by Courtney Connor of Growing Tree Child Development Center, LLC, for consideration of a conditional use permit to operate a group daycare center at 3333 Douglas Avenue. Recommendation of the Planning, Heritage, and Design Commission to approve subject to conditions A through I. Item 0635-20, request of Rosie Ali of Michael's Signs, agent for heating and cooling solutions, for consideration of a conditional use permit to operate an electronic message sign at 2430 Lathrop Avenue. Recommendation of the PhD committee to approve subject to conditions A through G. And finally, item 0558-20, request by Daryl Taylor, representing Roots Residential AFH LLC, seeking a conditional use permit to operate a daycare center at 1020 Washington Avenue. Recommendation of the PhD committee was to approve subject to conditions A through I. That is the end of my report, Mr. Mayor.
Without objection, we will place these items. Alder Coe.
I just want to ask for a roll call on that item, please.
Which item? Could you specify the number, Alder Coe?
Last one, the last one.
Last one, okay. So the last item, item 0558-20, it's been requested for separate consideration. Is there any discussion on the item? Seeing none, I will unmute clerk and ask her to call the roll. When she calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Sorry, Mayor, I missed the mover and the seconder.
I'm sorry, Alder Coe made the I guess you're right. I need a motion, a second. Alder Young, I believe, would make the motion. We need a second on it. Alder Coe, do you want to second the motion?
Yep.
Okay, so there's a second on the item from Alder Coe. A very good reminder, Clerk Coolidge, that I forgot a step. I apologize. Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, when the clerk calls your name, please vote if you wish.
Alder Tate.
Aye.
Alder Taft.
Aye.
Alder Mikma.
Aye.
Alder Coe.
No.
Alder Santiago.
Aye.
Alder Perez.
Aye.
Alder Peterson.
Aye.
Alder Levy.
Aye.
Alder West.
Aye.
Alder Lamb.
Aye.
Alder Horton.
Aye.
Alder Lemke.
Aye.
Alder Young.
Aye.
That's 12 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, thank you. Without objection, then, the remainder of those items will be placed on the consent agenda. And with that, we will move on to the Office of the Mayor report. Alder Tate, did you have any items for separate consideration?
No requests made, so I'll just read the report at this point. All right, item 061-20, communication from Alder Co requesting free parking. This will be for separate consideration. Item 0671-20, communication from Alder Co requesting free parking on Saturdays during the holiday season at all metered parking spaces to promote business and encourage holiday activities in Racine. The recommendation is to approve. Fiscal note, their estimated parking system revenue loss is $5,000. I don't know how to make the motion for this, seeing as I don't support this action, but I'll move to approve at this point so we can start the discussion.
Procedurally, if you're not going to vote for it, Alder Tate, somebody else should actually make the motion on the item. Alder Co, since it's at your request, would you like to make the motion to approve it?
Move to approve.
Okay, and then is there a second? A second from Alder Perez. Alder Co, do you want to speak to your motion?
Yeah, I just think with all the stuff we've had going on right now with COVID and everything else, it's just a goodwill gesture for the city to promote this, and so people don't have to worry about this. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Tate, your hand up.
Thank you. A similar item actually came up a few weeks ago by Alder Perez that did not make it out of committee, suggesting, suspension of parking. And it did not pass for similar reasons, in that at this point, it's hard to justify, foregoing an estimated $5,000 of revenue and also somehow make the case that parking meters would be a deterrent to people perusing downtown at this point. So I don't think this is an appropriate nor a fiscally responsible action to take at this time. And I don't think it really incentivizes what people often think it incentivizes, which again would be a bad policy to do something if it doesn't have any evidence of actually producing what you're expecting. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Young.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's interesting. As Alder Tate pointed out, we had a similar item on the agenda a while ago, but there was a difference. So if I can remember correctly, the proposal from Alder Perez was about free parking in the ramps, and I don't believe it had certain dates laid out. It just had a season associated with it. In this proposal, it seems as if these are metered parking on the street, in which there are certain days that are delineated, November 27th, December 5th, 12th, and 19th. And I think that, and also from my understanding, it seems as if the losses are less. If I could stand corrected on that. But from my perspective, there is an effectiveness associated with street parking that ramp parking would not have had. There is a promotion that could be done associated with this on Saturdays, which is, a day of shopping, and we would hope that people would be able to come downtown. And so even if this may have a revenue loss, there could be a promotion associated with this, as it is street parking rather than ramp parking, and it is designated for certain days. Now, I did not support the initial proposal just because of the efficacy, as Alder Tate had highlighted, but I think there is a difference between street and ramp parking in terms of accessibility and promotion. So I would not be opposed to this if city staff would be able to identify that services would be able to continue with a $5,000 loss in projected revenue. Mr. Mayor, you're muted.
Thank you very much, Alder Young. I will refer your question to Commissioner Rooney. Commissioner Rooney, are you still there?
I am, and the question was regarding the revenue loss?
Was whether or not the parking utility could and that estimated loss of revenue. Alder Young, please chime in if I'm mischaracterizing the scope of your question.
Nope, that would be correct.
Commissioner Rooney?
Well, I think, the revenues for the parking system this year have been very difficult to predict because of COVID-19, and we are down for this year already. I think it's an option that the Common Council has to weigh whether they feel that projected $5,000 loss in revenue is as important as maybe providing some good faith and to these businesses to try to promote some shopping and keeping them in business. Can the parking system withstand it? I would say yes. I guess I would equate it to how monies that were budgeted for other reasons this year were used to help support businesses with some of the grants that were provided through the city to keep businesses afloat. So I guess to that end, I do think the parking system will be able to get by with a projected $5,000 loss, and it probably would be money well spent if it means keeping some businesses functioning downtown.
Thank you, Commissioner Rooney. Alder Young, do you have any other comments then?
Yeah, I would say thank you, Commissioner Rooney, and I would say that the effectiveness of free street parking, in which if that was not available, an overflow would then go into paid ramp parking. Just from a strategic perspective about revenue, that makes a lot of sense. Also, when it comes to promotion of that free service. So thank you, Commissioner Rooney, and thank you, Alder Coe, for bringing this up, and thank you, Alder Perez, for in one way or another bringing it up previously as well.
Thank you, Alder Young. Alder Taft.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate the recognition. I think this really sounds like a good idea. But in practice, my understanding in conversations regarding previous parking suggestions is that I'm not sure. Maybe Mr. Rooney can speak to this. Maybe not. Is there a time limit enforced? Because one of the things that came up when we were discussing this before is that when there's free parking, people kind of park and stay in those parking spots, and that might actually functionally hurt the businesses, even though we're trying to help them. So if Mr. Rooney can speak to that's one of the concerns that I have about this. Like, is there a time limit enforced during the free parking period, stuff like that? Because I don't want to hurt business when we're trying to help them inadvertently.
Yeah. Commissioner Rooney.
Yeah, I believe in the past how it's been handled, and this is not anything new that the Common Council has approved. They've done this the last few years. Is we do enforce to make sure that cars are at least moving out of those areas based on the time limits associated with those meter zones. So we have 2-hour meters, 4-hour meters, etc. So they aren't parking there all day. So that would be the thing that we would be doing. We've done this in the past, and Mike Marley will ensure that that is communicated to the general public. I'll have him work with Shannon to work on the press release indicating that if the Common Council does approve this tonight for free parking on those days, we definitely don't want people parking all day in the same spot. It's a free opportunity for you to park there to do some shopping, to support small businesses. But it's not meant to stay there all day. And I believe that's a practice we have done in the past, and we will get that communicated to the public through the help of the communications director.
Thank you, Commissioner Rooney. Alder Taft, did you have any comments?
Nope, that's good. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? Alder Tate II.
Just want to comment. I know the mayor has a book in his office called The High Cost of Free Parking. Wonder if you wanted to speak to that at all. I know you're not able to engage in the debate, but
I won't speak to the merits of the item that's before you. I just want to, people may wonder why the direct referral that's here. I'll just mention two things procedurally. First, this is something that we've done annually for the retailers in the downtown. So this isn't a new practice. We do this every holiday season. The other thing I wanted people to know is the intention was that this would have been on the Public Works agenda. The chair has been ill and wasn't able to be reached before that meeting occurred. So this would have normally gone through Public Works. Because this is intended to start on the holiday weekend, and this may be our last meeting before then, this was direct referred to put it before you for your consideration.
Thanks.
Any other discussion on this item? The clerk will call the roll. When she calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Tate,
No.
Alder Taft,
Aye.
Alder Mikma,
Aye.
Alder Coe,
Aye.
Alder Santiago,
Aye.
Alder Perez,
Aye.
Alder Peterson,
Aye.
Alder Levy,
Aye.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder Land,
Aye.
Alder Horton,
Aye.
Alder Lemke,
Aye.
Alder Young.
Aye.
That is going to be 12 ayes and 1 no.
Thank you very much for your consideration on that item. Now that we voted on it, I'll just make a quick comment in relation to Alder Tate's question. All the big policy questions around parking still remain. The critiques are still there. I don't know that anybody knows parking policy as well as Alder Young does, but the rest of us try. But these are still things to consider. I think when you weigh the past practice that we've had with the downtown retailers and the goodwill that we're trying to build in a very tough retail year in the midst of the pandemic, and their ability to help market their downtown shopping on Small Business Saturdays and other events, this idea in my mind has merit, which is why I was willing to direct refer it here to you today. Alder Tate, do you have any other items for separate consideration under the mayor's report?
I'll read the report just as it is for now.
Okay.
Item 0776-20, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason requesting to cancel the November 17th, 2020 Common Council meeting. Recommendation is to approve. And the final item, which I do have to elaborate on a little bit, is item 0777-20, communication from myself requesting to discuss the process for filling the vacant 10th Aldermanic District seat for the remainder of the unexpired term. So just to kind of provide some background on this, where my thing go? At something I need to read. So, previously when there's been vacancies, we have moved to fill them. The process that is currently proposed, and we don't necessarily have to take action as a council, but if somebody wants to discuss the particular process that goes forward, we can. But effectively, we have 3 options when a vacancy occurs. We can either, 1, leave it vacant until the term expires until the next election. We can 2, call a special election, or we could 3, fill the seat, and maybe 4, fill the seat and still call a special election. The reason at this time I'm intending to move to fill the seat for the remainder of the term is twofold. If we were to wait until a special election in April, that would mean the 10th district will go without representation for roughly 6 months, which is a quarter of a term, and I believe that's not appropriate for us to leave that seat vacant. The reason I'm not recommending a special election is because for any of us who have run for office, which is everybody here, you know how grueling that experience can be as a candidate, let alone if you've never run twice in 1 year, which is what we would ultimately be asking someone to do if we were to call for a special election. I think that's an unreasonable lift for a person, and for the mayor and myself who've both done that, run elections twice within an 18-month period. It's not something that I would wish on anybody else. So that is why the recommendation at this point is to fill the seat for the remainder of the term, and then obviously have whomever, if they want to run for re-election at the end of the term, to do so. So if we proceed with as it is presented to fill the vacancy, this will be the process. Our goal would be to allow eligible residents in the 10th district to submit a letter of intention to desire and a resume to the city of Racine, expressing their intention to want to be considered for this seat. The goal would be that any letters would be in by 5 o'clock on November 27th. So that would be the Friday after Thanksgiving. Then on December 1st, assuming that we have a sufficient amount of applications, I would call a committee of the whole meeting before the regular common council to discuss interviewing candidates to interview the candidates who applied. I guess it kind of depends on how many apply. I think if there's over 4 applications, then we might want to split that up and perhaps not take action that particular night. But if it was 4 or fewer applicants, we would interview them during committee of the whole, make our recommendation to the Common Council, and then take up that recommendation of that Common Council on December 1st. And then officially, at that Common Council, we would appoint whomever the council majority says would be the one to the remainder of the term to expire in April 2022. So our goal is to obviously publicize that and notice it in the newspaper, as well as in other mediums. And, I think most of us who've done this, several times over the last few years, this is fairly in line. It's absolutely in line with what we've done when other vacancies have occurred in terms of the appointment process. It occurred for Alder Horton actually just last year. So this is definitely not deviating from our general practices, but I did want to make sure that we're kind of very clear in terms of what that process is. And if, council members were so inclined to desire a different process, or not necessarily a different process, but a different avenue as opposed to the appointment, then provide this opportunity for council members to weigh in. Otherwise, we don't have to take any action on this item. It'll just proceed as described if we just leave it on the agenda as is. But if somebody wants to make a motion or propose something differently, now would be the time to do so.
Thank you, Alder Tate II. Alder Perez.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm a little confused by President Tate's comment saying that it is not a deviation from common practice. When the alder of the 13th district passed away, we did not fill his seat at all. And we didn't have any kind of special election. We waited until the term was over. I understand that the process of filling the seat for 6 months is important, but it could also just be done at the election without there having been an incumbent in the seat. And the other thing is, even in my case, the first year I ran, there was an appointment, and then after that there was an election at the middle of a term. That's why I started in the middle of a term, because I got elected in the middle of a term when I wasn't appointed the first time. So that hasn't been the practice over the years. I think you mischaracterized that a little bit. And the last 2 openings that have been that way were not filled that way at all. So moving forward, I understand the process that the president has proposed. I think it's a good practice, but I think it's even a better practice if you just let the seat go and just have somebody run for that position, even though it falls on an odd year for an even position for the April election, and just fill it clean instead of having some discussion about filling it before. That's the way it's been done in the last 2 times where we've had an opening. Thank you.
Blanky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I don't necessarily have strong feelings one way or the other on this, but I do think it's an accurate characterization to say we've appointed people before. In this particular case, it's an even numbered seat if we left it open. I mean, depending upon if we leave it open for the term or to a special election, she was originally supposed to run for election again in 1.5 years, which I certainly don't think is reasonable to leave it open that long, given that people need representation. I also think that when we filled a number of positions, like I'm thinking about, let's see, the alder from Miss Molly Jones, I think we filled with a appointment. I think that I've been part of filling vacancies for at least maybe 3 alders and 2 judges. So that's definitely something we've done in the past. Like I said, I don't have strong feelings one way or the other, but I certainly think the people in the 10th district deserve to have someone appointed. Or appointed or elected, either way. I also think we should take into consideration, the coronavirus, and having people knocking on doors is probably not the best thing for, folks as well. I think that one way or the other, the seat needs to be filled because people in the district deserve to have an Alder there, certainly.
Thank you, Alder Lemke. Alder Mi'kmaq.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to clarify, since I oversaw the last two vacancies that we had, it was the first vacancy, which was for former Alder DeHaan's seat, we filled almost identical to what Alderman Tate is proposing here now. And then the second vacancy that we had for the Alder of the 13th, it was a matter of timing. We were much closer to the election than we are at this point, and it didn't make as much sense to try and rush an appointment when an election was relatively close to the need to fill that seat. So it was a matter of timing. I just really wanted to clarify because I feel like there's some mischaracterization about intent here, and I don't want it to be lost that I did oversee personally the last two appointments, and there was a lot of thought put into those, just as I know that there is similar thought being put into this, and just wanted to make sure that that was said. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Mi'kmaq. Alder Tate II.
Yeah, I actually only put my hand up just to clarify that process. Particularly for the 13th, the reason that it wasn't filled was that Alder Morganroth passed, and it wasn't noticed that he was passed until he had not filed his declaration of non-candidacy. So we were well within the election period when that occurred, which obviously would not have made sense for us to make an appointment. Also, going back to in this particular case, if we were to call for a special, which would, if we were to fill the seat via election, it would require a special election. It would certainly occur at the same rate as the normal spring elections, but then that would mean that that entirety of time, the 10th district would be without a representative. And as I mentioned, that person who runs for that would also be required, if they chose to run in less than another 12 months for that seat. All of us who've run, I don't think we would really ask or expect anybody reasonably to carry that particular weight, knowing what a challenge it already is to have earned the various seats that we are in. So I think there's a little bit of kind of grace as humans to say, we're not going to put a person through that intentionally, but also, as Alder Lemke says, really focusing on the length of time with which the 10th district goes without representation. And I think it's important that that time be as little as possible so that they have a voice on the Common Council.
Thank you, Alder Tate. I see no further discussion. Alder Coe.
I just wanted to say my computer was glitching a little bit, but I don't know if anybody mentioned that when Maurice got the job, there's 4 people that signed up, and we had a process where they came and talked to us, but I didn't hear anything because my computer was glitching. So we've done this before.
Yeah, I think you summarized very well the conversation that Alders Tate and Mi'kmaq laid out, just sort of building on past practice to replicate that practice here. Alder Perez.
Yeah, I just I remember now, as Alder Mi'kmaq said, I apologize for my statement. It was correct. I didn't remember it that way, but once he mentioned it, he is correct. So I retract my statement.
Thank you, Alder Perez. So seeing Alder Young.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question about process. If we were to take on the recommendation that President Tate outlined, would we be able to take that action today, or would we have to wait until the following meeting to properly notice that on the agenda to lay out the proposal in which we hope to engage in?
I don't believe so. I think by affirming what's laid out here and putting it on the consent agenda, that would set this in motion as Alder Tate II has laid out.
Very good. Thank you.
Alder Tate II? Oh, no, looks like we're good. Any other discussion on the previous 2 items that Alder Tate has mentioned? Seeing no further discussion or objections, we will put those 2 items on the consent agenda. That now gets us to our consent agenda. Alder Tate, I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Alder Young, do you second the motion? Okay, let me just unmute everybody real quick. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
Individuals who have access to spaces also help.
Carries.
Aye.
That moves us through the consent agenda. Apologies for unmuted people and background chatter during those moments, but we have approved the consent agenda. We are now on to the Common Council announcements. Announcements are limited to recognition of city residents and employees, memorials, and non-political community events. Discussion of matters related to government business is prohibited. I just wanted to offer a note of thanks and gratitude to the city clerk's office and frankly all the city staff and departments who did a fantastic job running a presidential election in the midst of a pandemic, which is a sentence I hope to never have to re-utter ever again. They did an enormous amount of fantastic work to make voting accessible and as safe as possible in the midst of a coronavirus pandemic. And so the clerk staff, of course, but then I don't think there was a single department that wasn't contributing staff and time and resources to make sure that this election could happen as safely as possible. So I just want to say bravo to those city staff and to all those poll workers, those citizen volunteers, day workers who showed up to make sure that democracy could still occur under extraordinary circumstances. Alder Peterson.
Yes, I would like to thank and honor my little buddy Mikey Langlos, firefighter of 14 years for the city of Racine, who passed away on October 21st. The fire department, as well as myself, will miss him dearly.
Thank you, Alder Peterson. Alder Coe.
I would just like to say, echo the mayor's sentiments about the election and all the help the city clerk's office. They did an amazing job for us. And I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and please stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Coe. Alder Young.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yesterday was Veterans Day, and so I just want to make an announcement about thanks that this council has for all those who have served our country in uniform. We have great organizations in the city of Racine who do amazing work to give back to those who've given so much to us. So I want to thank Veterans Outreach of Wisconsin for all the work that they do to serve our veterans in need. And thank you. Thank you to our veterans.
Alder Tate.
Thank you. Possibly to end on a somber note, but this is our first Common Council meeting since Alderwoman Glenn has passed, so I didn't want us to have this meeting without acknowledging her absence in this full meeting of our body, and continue to express our condolences and wish peace upon the family as they continue to mourn during this time.
Thank you, Alder Tate. That exhausts our announcements. Alder West, at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Be safe.